Hello, guys. Well, I'll first say back from the past and into the present. And this is going to be a new series that I'm starting. Depending on how well it's going to be received, this may continue or may just end right here. And the series I'm starting is pretty much about a review series, except these are games I didn't call 100% complete, but complete enough where I'm like thinking, okay, it's a good enough review to kind of you know suggest or recommend whether people should buy it or not, or rent or whatever. And this one is and that's what underrated games is. And it's not just any like review, like reviewing like any game. No, these are going to be reviews for games that don't get a lot of attention, or just don't really get that much attention. And this is one of those games out there. So, with that ado, this is underrated games for Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE. Um, First I'll say what the game is pretty much about, and pretty much all the advantages, and pretty much all the good sides of this game, the bad sides of this game, and even the controversy surrounding it. Surrounding whether it's a crossover between Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem. I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm not either fan of those series. So this is just me, just trying to look at it like what I did before to try to tell whether this is a crossover. Is I would look at both games of the current series, which I think was at the time it was Shin Megami Tensei 4 and Fire Emblem Awakening, and I might as well say there's more of an inspiration maybe from both of those series. And I pretty much will say all my thoughts when I get to that. When I get to that. When I get to that. When I get to that topic. Pretty much the last topic. Right now, what is it? It's a turn-based JRPG. You know, uh, Pretty much like an anime game. You get your main protagonist. It's kind of bland. I mean, I played it, and I think he has a little more personality than just kind of just being, the guy that fights with his friends. Like, he's more calm than I expected. In fact, I think there's other characters that I don't really like. This character just happened to be. I mean, this character is Itsuki or Itsuki, I think, or Itsuki Ori, and and that and so yeah, this character is not my least favorite character. You know, um, I don't think he's really as bland. I think my least favorite is going to be Michael Shimizaki, um, the one leading Fortuna or something, the manager of Fortuna, if you know what I mean. Just because it's been teased, it's been known that she, before the game release, that she's a mother-like figure, and I really don't see much of that. So it's just, and she's more of a hassle and detriment than the people in the team of Mirage Masters. That's what I think. I mean, uh, I mean that's what I actually think. Just because I really just don't see her, like, she usually gets drunk. She's like that anime character where you just see just be drunk, be like anxious when someone would tell her about her age or something, that kind of stuff. So basically, okay, moving along, the story is pretty much about you know everyday lives, focusing mostly on performing arts, particularly singing. And 3 years ago, there was a Mirage attack at some theater. The main heroine, Tsubasa, experienced it in the theater when she was very young, and she experienced her sister get taken away by the Mirages, and yeah, and pretty much this is just more of like you guys can get where I'm getting out the story. So after I guess 3 years, or I think it's 3 years, yeah, 30 years later, Tsubasa wanted to be an idol, uh, and so she announced that to pretty much a public event to everyone, and even to supposedly her crush, which is Itsuki, the main protagonist. And yeah, so and there happens to be Mirage attack there, and the reason why the Mirage is attack at both of those places is because people have this energy, or yeah, energy called performa, which is pretty much your drive. What drives you to do things, and when it's taken away, people just become you know like weak-minded, basically. They can't really do anything, and yeah, so that's pretty much why. And so pretty much since Subasa had a strong performa, she got taken away and kidnapped, and yeah, and the story goes from there. um I'm pretty much not going to spoil it here. This is not a spoiler. This is just me just kind of recommending, this is me just, whether or not I should recommend it or not, and just explaining pretty much the basics of it. So, so Itsuki being the main protagonist, ends up going into, he can see a portal or something, or door leading towards what this place is known as the idolosphere. And pretty much it's like those dungeons that you would see in, like, I think Shin Megami Tensei game. I'm guessing that's pretty much what Shin Megami Tensei are known for, dungeons, I think. So yeah, so, and that's, I think I'll just cut it there. Basically the story and the premise is just him, just, it's kind of a coming of a age kind of story, or should I really say it like that, where this is his origin, basically. He found, he like gets these kind of powers from a Mirage partner, which he uses a performa to purify the Mirages that were corrupt. The Mirages that are corrupt are the Mirages that attack, um attack in both places, the theater and the event, which, just to notify that those are Mirages. And pretty much it's just him just saving, just him just dealing with the events while just using his Mirage powers. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Expect any romance, you'll just get a tease. And that's about it. I mean, of course you have of course you have other characters, and you'll get to know their background story too. Some are pretty interesting too. Um, I actually do planning on making a follow-up video to this. It's not going to be a review part two, but it is just going to be, something related. I won't say what it is, because I like to keep that a secret. So, um, so yeah, so pretty much I've already said the um starting characters. I don't really think I should like name like pretty much like all the characters. I think you guys should just find out really in the game, just play it. I'm not gonna spoil. So for the gameplay, like I said, it's a turn-based JRPG. Some people say, and this is, now I am gonna delve into some controversy if it's relating towards the topic I'm doing. It says gameplay. Yeah, so it's turn-based. Is it based on both of them? I mean, it kind of is because the rounds are randomized and I mean this only happened once for me. In some cases, if you let those red cloak guys, which are the enemy mirages, attack you, they pretty much get to have their turn first. This happened to me only one time, so don't worry if it's going to happen every single time. It only happened to me one time, and I usually get like surprised by one of the mirages, the red cloak mirages, and yeah. So it so and now here's kind of the thing that people are going to say, oh, the controversy, or there's not a Shin Megami final crossover because the battle system just doesn't relate. It doesn't relate, but at the same time, I look at it more like actually my change of mind. I'm not, I'm just gonna hand it all to controversy at the last hour or something, minutes. So I'm just gonna stick to the gameplay, which is so like I said, it's a randomized time. When you're in a dungeon, you when you're in dungeon, you well first the game here's how the gameplay actually works. Pretty much first in Japan, you'll go around the city. There's going to be side quests usually, like any of the JRPGs, and get some items and get this and get that. And I'll talk about the content and whatever content and the variety of side quests, and if there's enough, and if there's and if there's a good variety, including the side stories. So yeah. Um, so you go around Tokyo, just doing side quests or just talking to people. Uh, I think the instructions will just tell you. So just yeah. So so that's what you do normally. When you see one of those doors, those dark doors, I guess you could say, that leads to the idol sphere, which I already said, and it leads you to a dungeon. And in a dungeon, you explore around, find items, pretty much about the basic of a JRPG. Here's kind of and here's something a little bit different, maybe that might kind of um well, I wouldn't really say it's different, but I mean, so yeah, you look around items, and when you will pretty much encounter usually enemies with red cloak. Rarely will you have enemies with purple cloak, which are the enemies that are very hard and like they're basically made to be very hard for you to defeat, and rarely will you ever be able to defeat them. So and the instructions are there in the game. They advise you to just like use an escape item or something. And for the items, there's different varieties. There's an escape, there's a restore, pretty much everything you need. Repels, yeah, it's there. So the basics of it is, if you encounter red cloak, you can, since you have a sword, I think, since you're using a sword, I think, or a weapon, if you manage to successfully hit them, they'll get they'll get paralyzed, and you could just ignore them or just battle them. And when you battle them, there's a 50% chance, I think, that you'll get the first turn. So yeah, but usually you'll get the first turn regardless, unless the enemy attacks you and you get an enemy, and then you let the enemy attack first. Which, once again, I said it rarely happens. So yeah, so pretty much that's pretty much the basics of it all. And yeah, pretty much, yeah. I mean, and just moving on to the turn-based gameplay, it's a randomized system. You pretty much, and it's turn-based. Once again, I kind of keep repeating myself. How it works is each playable character has a choice of doing something, whether it be doing a normal attack, whether it be doing special moves like Sessions attack, which you're supposed to do usually. And don't worry if you run out of points for those session attacks, because you always get some, and you're always be able to like heal them with the vending machines, which I didn't know. So I'll explain. Like that's kind of maybe a problem that I might have had, but it's a tiny bit of a problem. So yeah. So back to the choices. You can escape. It's pretty much based on chance. You can use items, and yeah, pretty much. Basically simple, pretty simple. Uh, and your goal, of course, is to take out the enemies, and yeah, and really, it's pretty much this system is just meant to kind of just you're supposed to play strategically since it's randomized, and that's just all I gotta say. Like it really depends on what move you're gonna make. You know, like really just that's kind of really just the whole point. Like kind of strategize and just be like, okay, what do I do? Do I heal? Do I just defend? Because I might get taken out if I do wrong, if I choose the wrong move. So yeah, and pretty much that's about it. And how the system works exactly, like there's of course a weakness system, there's a resistance system, and pretty much just normal damage. Pretty much like any other like RPGs like Pokemon, and yeah, like pretty much it's self-explanatory. Basically resistance you know just doesn't do much damage. If you're resistant to ice, you don't do much you will receive less damage. It's a minus sign, which is normal. You just do normal damage, and if it's weak, you get more damage. Yeah, and there's of course upgrades to your first. You can upgrade your sword in a certain place. I won't spoil. Um, I like to keep the spoiler free, and you can upgrade your swords, your pretty much your 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 weapon. Yeah, your weapon. I think I'll say like your wand and sword and spear, etc. And upgrade to have better stats, to have better resistance, more resistance, um, and better attack. Yeah, better attack power, and yeah, all those things, um, and before upgrading, the weapon has a leveling system, and when a weapon levels up, you'll receive a new upgrade, and that's just how it works. And not every upgrade is going to be useful. Just keep that in mind. And I think now, just thinking about it, um, the upgrade really depends on the weapon. So if you want a more powerful lightning attack, maybe a weapon that has the least resistance, the resistance to lightning might factor in. Um, so yeah, and and so I mean, you learn new moves pretty much a more powerful lance attack, an additional attack that was not learned previously, like if the character didn't have an ice attack before, that character learns an ice attack, and yeah, it's really self-explanatory. Um, pretty much pretty much like passive skills are, if people don't really know, passive skills are just, they're not really attacks, they're just abilities, right? Yeah, there's abilities, there's session skills and or session attacks, and um which are a group of attacks that link together with the same type between each other. That's pretty much the best I could explain it. And the normal ones, which pretty much are the special attacks. Um, and that's pretty much about it, really. That's pretty much about it. You like there's a lot of things to like upgrade with. There's definitely going to be a lot of weapons. You can even uh change 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 I think like change a knight to change a lord to something, like change the type of pretty much change mirages into a different form. I think that's probably the best way I could probably describe it. Just yeah. So so yeah, there's gonna be a lot of upgrades and you won't really get bored. Pretty much with different upgrades, different weaknesses, different ones have different weaknesses, and yeah, pretty much that. And you have 7 characters to play. Just saying you have 7 characters to play. I mean, you're seeing it right in front of me, except for that girl to the left, to the far left. Yeah. Uh, so pretty much that's about it. Now for content, there's variety of there's definitely a variety of side stories. There's 6 for besides the main protagonist, which is kind of sad for me because I kind of would like to see a side story of him, like his backstory, and and Tsubasa's, too, because I think her side story just wasn't like it wasn't enough to kind of just be like, oh, we're never gonna see her again. I would like to see her again. If they're gonna make a sequel, I would like to see her again. Still be as big. Even go as far to say like she's still the main heroine. And I pretty much will get into it at a later date. And I won't say how much the amount is for side stories, but it's a pretty hefty amount. Like I don't think I don't think the developers were lying that this game was going to be about 60 hours. It took me more than 60 hours to get most of the stuff done. Like the only things I have to get done or maybe some upgrades and maybe some side quests. That's pretty much about it. I'm pretty much done with all the side stories and main story. Yeah. So yeah. So pretty much if you guys are worried about oh there's not enough content, there is enough content. Now I will say I will admit the difficulty level curve has kind of been a little bit weird. Like it's more difficult at first and a little more difficult at the second like chapter. Like the first chapter was uh like the prologue isn't that bad, but like the first chapter was with the boss fight was pretty hard. Like it could have gone either way for me, and I lost several times in the boss fight for the second chapter, and they lowered difficulty curve, and which was weird to me because I got used to playing it strategically, or maybe it's because I got used to playing more strategically that I lost less in in boss battles. So yeah, so yeah, pretty much. So if you are gonna get this game, and if you are a casual gamer, just pick easy. It's self-explanatory. If you don't want too hard of a boss fight, if it's a little bit too hard, I would recommend. I don't know if you can. I think you might be able to change the difficulty midway. Like if you don't like hard boss fights at all, and you kind of just want to be just normal and just normal. You know, change it to easy until after the second chapter. I think after it, it's pretty easy. Yeah, it's it's easy enough. Yeah, and that's pretty much, I guess you could say, maybe a negative, but not too much of a negative. Now for pretty much the next, topic would be, and I think you guys think this is going to be the controversy, but it really isn't. I mean, I'm close to it. The next one's going to be the gamepad advantage, and people said this is for its gamepad, and I will admit that it does get kind of annoying that, because my gamepad runs out of battery and I have to use the gamepad almost every single time. Um, but at the same time, it's not like, because here's the thing: if it had a better battery life, there would be no complaints like these. Because the gamepad is useful in this game, like I, foreseen before this game came out in North America, because you could search certain, you know, mirages that you're supposed to fight in a side quest. You could check messages without pausing the game. And, I mean, of course, you have to be in a safe area, but just, after you defeat an enemy and everything's clear, you could just check the messages. And yeah. And when you're in a battle, you can check enemy stats on your gamepad. Like, it's so very useful. Like, it really just is that useful. Like, you're trying to find something in the dungeon. It's just that useful. And I will admit, like, when I play when I play Time and Eternity, I kind of, I kind of hope for a map that'll just show me, what area, uh, what items are located in there, instead of just kind of pressing another button just to find it on the TV screen. So yeah. Now, pretty much up to the last topic, the controversy surrounding it, whether or not it's a crossover between Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem. The way I see it, Fire Emblem is more of that relatable kind of game in terms of theme. I'll first talk about the theme. To me, it's more of that, like I guess some people are not a fan of the songs and stuff, and I get that, but it's interesting to kind of note that the guys did say, the Fire Emblem is in the songs and theme and all that kind of stuff, and I kind of noticed that, and I'm kind of just thinking, when I look at Fire Emblem, what it reminds me of is, pretty much just perform a just how do I say, like of course the obvious one is the ambition, uh by a song about ambition by a certain person I won't really talk about, and um and achieving your dreams, or pretty much just, like, the way I understood it, performa seemed to be something, some kind of idea based in Fire Emblem, with the, like, just basically just important themes, like yeah, just pretty much just like maybe hope, I'd say, something like that. Hero is kind of the obvious thing too, because I'm pretty sure there are heroes in Violent. I'm pretty sure. In fact, aren't they heroes, technically speaking? So, that's what the songs relate to, and it's just kind of, people compare this to Persona. I will admit there's some parts that make me kind of question, you know, like, kind of make me lean more towards this being more of a Persona game. With the vending, with the modern Tokyo um things like vending machines in stores. Um, but at the same time, there's there's pretty much, or what I'm trying to say is, they focus us solely on performing arts. They would have focused on school, but they didn't do much of school. So, to be honest, yeah, there's some Persona in it, but it's not too much to kind of just say this is a more Persona, Cross Island game. Uh, and and that's I think just how it is. And did it really have enough like Shin Megami Tensei like that dark and gritty kind of theme and pretty much like anti-hero kind of theme? Not really, which is a little bit disappointing, but pretty much the mirages are pretty much the themes of the dungeon, just the atmosphere of the dungeon kind of relates me towards like Shin Megami Tensei, just because it's dark to me. Like even like I would have some nightmares maybe of the dungeons, because or I would just be pretty um I would be pretty I would be reluctant to play this game at night because it is just that scary. Like it's just like at least the first two dungeons are pretty scary. I mean, like the prologue and the chapter one are pretty scary, and yeah. So I mean, I do get that there are some there's some things where they're lacking in the Shin Megami Tensei and they're lacking in Fire Emblem. You know, and that's why I would like the sequel to, instead of just trying to follow the formula that Tokyo Mirage Sessions is doing, just expand it. Whatever parts need Shin Megami Tensei, whatever parts needs Fire Emblem. And that's what I would like. And you know, and I do plan on making a video on 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 about that. I mean, so pretty much so pretty much there's Shin Megami Tensei in the dungeons. I think there's Shin Megami Tensei in the dungeons. Pretty much with the with the atmosphere of just it being dark and scary and like a haunted house kind of. And Mirage is like, some Mirages are from Shin Megami Tensei. Like I did my research, and I think the blob thing are from Shin Megami Tensei. I think the mages are from Shin Megami Tensei. Well, not marine mages. The scary looking doll things, or just that long or tall doll things that scream like a scary woman or something. So there's some of that inside. It's a complicated topic, and to sum it up, it's Fire Emblem in the characters and themes, like the themes that are from the songs and side stories, I think. And 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 Shin Megami Tensei in the some of the enemy designs, and I think that's, yeah, enemy designs, battle system. I mean, Fire Emblem is also included in terms of battle system. And yeah, that's pretty much, yeah, just two things. They don't have like important Shin Megami Tensei characters, so I gotta feel bad for those guys that are like thinking, oh no, there's gotta be Shin Megami Tensei like main characters, and I hate to break it, but there's none. So you're just gonna find just some guys. I mean, you'll find some references like in the store of some characters they might recognize, but they're not exactly like, one person sounds like that person. Sounds like Jack Frost, but isn't exactly Jack Frost. So it's I think that's the Mirage's name. I could be speaking the name wrong, but that icy looking guy, the heel mart. If you look at the heel mart, like that image, or um that mascot. So yeah, well, not really mascot, but yeah. So I mean, is it Shin Megami Tensei Cross Island game? It has a Fire Emblem story to it. Like, it gets kind of bright and relatable and just heavy on theme, which Performing Arts focuses on theme. So and and then later gets dark, which I'm guessing Fire Emblem kind of does. Like, it gets bright at first and then it gets dark later on, I'm guessing. So, and there's just some there's a lot of references to Fire Emblem, like the Performa. Like I heard Performa is, you know, like I heard there's a relation between Performa and Fire Emblem, and I don't know if it's made up, but that's what it seems like to me. And pretty much, yeah, and and yeah, um, so yeah, that's pretty much about it for this game, and yeah, so would I recommend it? I mean, it really depends. If you're looking for like what I would say is if you're a fan of Shin Megami Tensei and you're looking into getting into Fire Emblem, you know, you know, get this game so you can transition better, right? Transition into more lighter tones, and start to kind of get the idea of trying to strategize, which Fire Emblem is big on strategy, and yeah, like it's kind of it's kind of like chess, I guess, in a way, where you just you kind of have to just strategize and know how many people are in. So yeah, and same thing with Fire Emblem, vice versa. You just want to get to I think this is probably a better transition because than the vice versa with Shin Megami Tensei fan looking to getting a Fire Emblem game, because this is just like Shin Megami Tensei. Like I saw the gameplay, and yeah, you go around dungeons, and instead of just um like when you hit, you go directly into battle. You hit, you have the option of not being in battle or not. So yeah, there you go. Um and and pretty much get used to the turn-based system that's in Shin Megami Tensei. Yeah, so that's pretty much I think about it. I think the battle system they probably got maybe right. So yeah, it's just, and now kind of just summing it all up. Could he have done this a better way? I mean, the way I see it, you're dealing with two different themes. You're dealing with for Shin Megami Tensei, you're dealing with a very very apocalyptic and very just dark and grimy and anti-hero kind of theme, and very from what I've gathered from looking at the footage, just very much like that. And then here you do a Fire Emblem, which is dark, but most of the time, from what I see, it's that lighter, it's that light tone, it's that comfortable kind of tone, and that's pretty much what Fire Emblem usually is. And and it's back in the unlike Shin Megami Tensei, this is back in the far past, and it's where land is alive. Well, Shin Megami Tensei, land is dead, and Shin Megami Tensei is also futuristic. So it's really hard to kind of draw parallels between each other. So instead of just trying to instead of just trying to um instead of trying to directly kind of do it in a boring kind of fashion where you just have your Shin Megami Tensei characters and do their own Shin Megami Tensei things. It's just I kind of like this kind of style better because it's a little more creative, and yeah, I think that's just how it goes. So yeah, so I mean, like would I prefer it to be I would kind of prefer it to just be instead of just focusing a lot on the slice of life, on modern day, just kind of maybe focus on them trying to be heroes and then trying to balance that with with normally life, or yeah, pretty much, and just or focus on the songs, but relate it more towards the themes of Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem, because I haven't really gathered much songs that relate through Shin Megami Tensei aside from reincarnation. So it's just kind of yeah. So pretty much, I think this was just like a model to just kind of follow, for like a title that's going to be a crossover between Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem. And people say it's an inspiration. I mean, it's more of an inspiration, but at the same time, you have characters that are from Fire Emblem and Shin Megami Tensei. So I don't know if you would say direct inspiration, but yeah, it's mostly inspiration. But I think that, like, I mean, for Hollywood acting, like they could have just, like some of the side story, I would like it to relate more towards, the themes that relate to both of the series instead of just kind of relating more towards like, you know, like whatever. Pretty much. And, like the one time with the side story that involves, food, and just talk about the structure of food. Like, I don't know if they have that type of stuff in Fire Emblem. I'm guessing probably not. So, and that's one of the things that made me lean more towards this being more Persona than um, more Persona, more Persona than a Shin Megami Tensei. Um, uh, or let me rephrase that: more Persona influence than Shin Megami Tensei influence. So yeah. Um, so yeah, I think I've said pretty much enough. For this game. Um, like I'm pretty sure this game is lacking. Like I can't confidently say like a Fire Emblem fan should get this game because if they don't like the whole J-pop and performing arts kind of stuff and even the dark dungeons, then I wouldn't really recommend to get this game. This is more of a game where if you're a fan and you want to try something new, this is the game to get. Pretty much, that's what it seems like to me. So because you're dealing with two different themes or two different, two series that are almost different to each other. Barely any similarities, and the only similarity I could find is just dark storyline. But then again, Fire Emblem isn't too dark, so you just can't really. I don't think you can draw any parallels between each other. I mean, that's what I think. And that's pretty much about it. And so yeah. If you like JRPGs, um, I recommend this game. It has a unique system. That's influenced by Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem. You know, um, and it has a pretty good story. Maybe pretty good. I wouldn't put this in top tier, but it pretty much is entertaining. I think so. Yeah. Is it a story driven as a Time and Eternity? Maybe not as much, but it's still a pretty good story. Like I would like to see a sequel of this game, like a sequel, an actual sequel where we would see, the characters from this game, come back and still be main characters. And that'll be in for that'll be discussed on, at a later time. So I mean, you just want to, play something, play a quality game. Yeah, I think it's one of them. I have yet to get into glitches and bugs and whatever. I did have some frame rate issues, but it rarely happens. It only happens like the part that gets pretty like okay, this might be a problem is when there's like more enemies, like four enemies on screen, and a battle, but at the same time, I think this was done before, and I didn't really experience that type of frame issue. So I gotta wonder if this was like maybe an optimization problem, maybe. So yeah, and and if you like JRPGs, or if you're willing to try something new, hey, it is one of those games, and yeah. Um, and for what I'm gonna rate this currently, without really completing this game much, but pretty much expecting, what to really expect, like if there's no other issues, coming in, like no other glitches, no other problems, trying to find things, in certain side quests. I think this is for now like a 9.2. I think I'll give it that because I mean like because the difficulty curve is kind of weird, definitely, but it wasn't that big of an issue, and yeah, and not really, and there's not really much complaints I have with this game. The only thing I kind of maybe want is just a sequel to kind of just focus on the characters that do need more development. Because I do think that there needs to be more characters. Like there are some characters in this game that need more development in a future game. So yeah, and so that's pretty much about it. And this is one of the reasons to pick up a Wii U. Yeah, so that's pretty much about it. And this is the end of underrated games for Tokyo Mirage Sessions Shark FE. And um, and as I always say, see me in the future.